So Thor Love and Thunder is out now in theaters near you. Go check it out if you haven't seen it yet. As you notice, Will's not here. I'm doing this alone. I think Will's going to release his own review tomorrow. Not 100% sure, so we'll look out for that. Thor Love and Thunder is directed and written by Taika Waititi. It was also written by Jennifer Caton Robinson. It also obviously stars Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, Taika Waititi, Tessa Thompson. Not going to spoil this one other person, but also Christian Bale. Really neat movie. Very surprising, actually. I can't believe I didn't know anything about the cameo. I had no idea. I guess... well, I didn't really pay attention to the trailer. I'm assuming he was in the trailer. Okay, let's get into the positives. One indulgible outcome to having a director like Taika Waititi is that he has this imagination and vision for big picture. What Taika does is that he really likes to kind of pause mid-shot without actually pausing the whole shot. It's more of a slow-mo, but you really get the sensation that it's just this one gigantic vision that he had for the shot, and he just wanted to put it in there. And I really love that about Taika Waititi. He really loves having the action shot in like this almost comic book like page. But for the first time ever, I think I finally see Taika Waititi's artistic talent, his vision for these action sequences in this movie alone is just incredible. There were times that it could have lasted a little longer. Glad my friend pointed that out because I completely forgot about it. There were so many things going on. But yeah, he really knows how to keep people entertained, and that's what I really like about Taika. So something that I can't ignore about this movie is how the comedic elements have serve purpose to the plot. At least one that I can remember is the goat one. They do things throughout the movie, and I thought that was great. Otherwise, I would have been just like, wow, the goat, annoying, sure, whatever. I'm trying so hard not to spoil it. So I already mentioned Taika, but I'm gonna mention him one more time. Taika has never been one for very serious moments in these movies. At least he seems like someone who gets bored in like serious moments. Not saying that he does, but to me he kind of strikes me as one. We kind of roll through very quickly. It really shows in the pacing how much he just kind of wants to move past the seriousness of it. Not a time was wasted to moments that we generally don't care about. He just moves on, gets on with it, whatever. Yeah, the pacing was really quick. I really loved that. I think it could have slowed down a little bit. I'm going to talk more about that later. But this leads me to the story. So the movie begins with Christian Bale's Gore struggling in this scene and finding his way to a god. I think he's a sun god. The sun god basically belittling him during the scene, and he finds what is that thing called? The Necro Sword, and he chooses him. This leads him to a path where he just doesn't care about them anymore, and he just wants to now kill gods because of their blatant disregard to the people that worship them. Some really deep undertones with this movie about gods and their disciples. I thought that was a really cool commentary. So this leads him into killing gods, which is hence the name Gore, the God Butcher. Then we get a little tidbit of what happened to Thor throughout the years with the Guardians of the Galaxy, which was, I think, was in a good insert. I really didn't like that. For the most part, I don't know, I don't like it when things happen off screen. I mean, it was on screen, but I don't like the commentary or the kind of storytelling part of that, where Korg was talking to children and was talking about the backstory of their adventures. Didn't like that whatsoever. And then Thor hears about this God Butcher, and it leads him to a path to finding the man who is killing gods. That's the best way I can put it without trying to spoil it. Every tidbit of me trying to talk about this movie is just all spoilery, and I'm really trying my best not to. But interesting bit about the plot. So I mentioned Gore the God Butcher. He's basically the main plot of the movie. As far as we knew, in the first half, he only really wanted one thing, and that was to kill gods. Mainly because of their blatant disregard to the people who worship them, which is then encouraged by the necrosword thing. And honestly, I thought that was it, but the end really tidied it up a little bit. So the beginning of the movie is really heavy. It's a kind of short backstory to Gore, and I thought that was it. You know, he was just Gore, the God Butcher was just there to die. But throughout the movie, we soon realize what he was going to do. But the thing is, you have to be a Marvel fan, because if you're not, then you're not going to understand what's happening. The reason why he's going to these lengths to kill these gods. Basically, he has that Thanos mentality, except it's not wiping out half the population. It's actually killing gods, which he thinks or proclaims that it creates peace. So other positives about this movie. I don't really know if I can consider Chris Hemsworth as a positive at this moment. I still have mixed feelings about his performance in a way. I don't personally like this Thor, but I do, because it's a little different. It's just so off-putting and it's so out of place, but at the same time it's also I don't know how to feel about Chris Hemsworth yet. But Natalie Portman, really cool to have her back. She has again the same thing, backstory explain, yada yada yada, off-screen stuff. We finally have a closure to her character. So for the longest time, we didn't really have any closure for what happened to Jane Foster. All we know is that she left Thor, or Thor left him. Thor left her. And as far as we knew at that moment, she was doing other things. She was, you know, reaching the horizon, doing science stuff. They mentioned that she won a Nobel Peace Prize or whatever. Other than that one mention of her, I think that's the only time where we only ever talk about Natalie Portman's character. I thought it was great to have her back. The thing is, it could have been a really big moment if the theater was like, you know, more ecstatic about this movie. It didn't feel like it. It just felt like it was just a Sunday afternoon. They were just chilling in the theater, which is kind of disappointing, because I'm so used to going to these Marvel movies with like high energy, enthusiasm, yell and scream to the skies, people get excited. Why is it that the one movie where you're kind of allowed to, I wanted to talk about this in a different video, but I'm going to talk about this now. Why is it that in a movie like Thor Love and Thunder, where you can yell and scream as much as you want, clap, stand up, whatever, why is it that there weren't a lot of people excited? I was very surprised. It felt really dead. In my past experience to other movies that are a little smaller, independent-ish kind of movies, those other movies, there are people talking, there are people playing music, there are people reacting to it in a horrendous way by being loud. But in this movie, the one movie where you can actually do it to, they didn't do shit. It was so quiet. Pissed me off. We watched The Men, and there's these two girls in the back of us that was talking. And that was the only time where I was like, please stop talking. I really want to pay attention to their dialogue. And also, The Northman, there was some dipshit kid that was right next to me that had music on blast, which was, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to be a Karen. And he was a kid, but it just bothered me so much. The strong emotion leads me to negativity, to the negatives of the movie. Here's the thing about the Thor movies. Well, Marvel in general. I think they're slowly shying away from the balance, from having that balance of grounded and goofiness. Realistically, the goofiness or campiness has always been from the dialogue and the following comedic moments after that, but it's a little different this time. The look, the feel, even the VFX, and maybe the dialogue, they've taken it up a notch. I obviously don't want a serious like Thor movie, because look at what happened to that. We got this shit right here. I would have rather liked a more toned down version of it. First of all, you had Christian Bale. Come on. One of the greatest actors to date. You have him in this movie, and it is the most goofiest thing. I really hoped that this movie was going to be a little serious because of Christian Bale. He mentioned that, you know, the script has to be great or whatever, and it has to be good. for him to come back or whatever. And I thought that was the reason why that he was going to do this movie, is because like it was going to be a little more serious. I thought it was going to be far different from the Marvel movies that we've seen so far, but man, was I wrong. So I mentioned earlier about the comedic effect of this movie. There's a relentless amount of jokes in this movie, and I'm only mentioning it lightly because although it didn't bother me too much, I think this movie should have given us a little bit more than a highly expensive comedy. You know, obviously you can't take these movies seriously. Again, I understand that a darker Thor is, you know, a no-go, but I think the villain that they had in this movie was just incredible. So this leads me to gore. I love and hate what they did to this movie. I mean, Christian Bale, man, he did an excellent job in this movie. I really loved his performance. Every time I know this is supposed to be the negative part, but let me just say a few things real quick about his performance in this movie. His presence in this movie is just incredible. Every time he showed up in this movie, it was just, oof. You are taken aback. You are forgetting that you're watching a Thor movie. Christian Bale just coming in and out of the scene was so hypnotic. Like every time he just showed up, I was just like, whoa, that is great right there. But then they put it in a Thor movie, which is the disappointing part. Basically, gore is just there to serve as a reminder that the movie has a plot. He's there to serve the plot. And it's really annoying because, like, I really like this character. I really love this character. I think by far he is the most menacing character the MCU has ever had. I wish it was in the movie more, to be quite honest with you. I would have loved to see a full, just the second, like a whole hour of just gore doing things. And man, they really missed an opportunity. Having Christian Bale as that character is so menacing. It's so special. So let's go to the ratings. Critically, this movie is a big blockbuster. If you're a returning viewer, you know how I feel about big blockbuster movies. But Thor: Love and Thunder, critically, this movie, I think, is about 5, because the whole movie is basically just a joke fest. There's just a lot of jokes, you know, quips, cracks, whatever you want to call it. It was just full of that. The good moments that we did have was mostly of Christian Bale, but there are scenes also with Natalie Portman that I thought were really good. I didn't mention that here because for the most part, her involvement in the story and the plot is one big spoiler. So I'm just going to say it was great to see her back. It was great to have her on screen be bulk as shit. So that was great. But entertainment value. I was actually thoroughly entertained. I laughed at so many things, which surprised me because I don't usually enjoy those kinds of jokes. But either way, I really did have fun. And I think that's what where most of the value of this movie goes to. For entertainment rating, I'll give this movie about an 8. I had a good time. For once, I didn't actually think much of the little nitpicky stuff, even though I still do have nitpicky things to say, which I'm not going to include in this video. Most people really just go to these movies just to enjoy themselves. So if you're going to take anything away from this review, I would say it's the entertainment aspect. That's what the positive parts are. Mostly it's just the entertainment aspect of the movie. So thank y'all for watching. Like and subscribe. If you really like this video, like and subscribe. And comment down below, what did you think of Thor: Love and Thunder if you've already seen it? Was your crowd even better than mine? Thank y'all for watching. Don't forget, there's 2 post-credit scenes. One, you know, they're in their normal spots, and then there's one in the end credit. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. More reviews, videos coming out. If you like me doing this sort of thing, if you don't like me doing this sort of thing, I'm sorry. I just needed to do this so that we can get more viewers and subscribers. Oh, and also Natalie Portman. What the hell was that ending? Was that like did I miss something? Did they announce like a Disney Plus thing? Like, what was that? Where did that come from? I don't think it was ever mentioned before that it was an actual thing.